Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie, and good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. So, we're going to talk about a few things in this video this morning. Sorry, can never get my camera right somehow, but anyway, I try and center it. I was on a Zoom call with a student this morning. They've got one of those webcams. When you move, it moves with you. Or is it the computer that does that? I don't know. Anyway, it's up to date technology. Maybe I need that because I always feel like I'm not in the right place. But anyway, so yes, we're going to talk about three things this morning. We're going to talk about the latest in the Sarah Sharif trial that we've been following. We're going to talk about Liam Payne's funeral, which was yesterday. Liam Payne, One Direction star, who tragically fell off a balcony in Buenos Aires. Was it in Buenos Aires in Argentina? And maybe not Buenos Aires, but it was in Argentina. And died. And well, it's not, it's all still being talked about. Was he dead before he fell? Was he unconscious? Etc. There's a lot still not explained about Liam's death. I'm not going to go into that. I don't like going into conspiracy theories. We'll see what happens as the investigations continue. But one thing we do know is it was tragic. So we're going to be talking about that. We're also going to be talking about, I don't know if you've heard about this story of this poisoning by shots in Laos. Backpackers who were out enjoying themselves as young people do. They were given free shots at the hotel where they were staying, and then at least two people have died, and other people are in hospital. People from young people, not only from Britain, from Australia, etc. We'll have a look to find out the exact. I don't know the exact details. It's a breaking story that I'm only just getting into, and I'll be going into it with you. Very shocking. The hotel are saying it wasn't their shots, because after these young people had free shots in the hotel, which the hotel lays on, these young people then went out into Laos and were in different bars, etc. So again, big investigation. But one thing it has exposed is how you have to be careful when you go to bars, especially in foreign countries, who you don't know what's in the shots and what they put in for alcohol. It's not always alcohol. And this is what's thought to have killed these young people. Anyway, we're going to look at that as well. So let me just say hello to anybody who's here. And of course, hello to anyone watching at home. Hello to Replay Crew. Hi, Daniel. Hi, Musical. Yeah, girls from Australia, Britain. Are they all girls? Because that was something that struck me. Why are they all girls? If they are all girls. As I say, I don't know. I've not delved into this yet, and it may be that they're not all girls. It seems to be it's two girls that have died, as far as I know. And as you say, one girl in life support, and they're from Australia, from Britain. There's a girl from Britain. But we're going to look at it. But it did strike me. I thought, why are they all girls? Were they given more shots? You know what it's like. I mean, it's just the way of the world, isn't it? I remember when I was young, you go out to these bars and things, you always got more attention because you were a girl. If the bar lads were lads, you obviously got more attention. Maybe you got more drinks because maybe they were trying to get you a bit happy and that. I'm not talking about spiking. I'm talking about just trying to maybe get you a bit merry. So I wondered that for why is it girls? Anyway, or maybe maybe it's their constitution, because maybe they're more slender, their body couldn't take it, rather than sort of stocky guys. But we'll look at it anyway. Hi, Yvonne. So yeah, that is a developing story, and we're going to look into it as we go. Let's start off with Sarah. So let me just start off as well. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like the video. Thank you to everyone who's a member, who watches, who sends Ko-fis or super stickers, and a special thanks to members, also people who gift memberships, of course, all these things that support my channel. Thank you so much. So let's have a look at what's happening in the Sarah Sharif case. Now, we've been following this. Sarah up here in the left hand corner, and let me see if I've got a bigger picture to put here. 10-year-old girl. I think if you watch my channel regularly, you'll know what happened. Sarah, it turns out Sarah was a victim of abuse from her father here on the left, Irfan, her stepmother, Baynash Batul, and Faisal, Irfan's brother, although it's possible he didn't participate in the abuse. He never said anything. So poor Sarah had been suffering from terrible abuse for at least 2 years. When she was given custody, when her father was, for some inexplicable reason, because he had previous history of abuse of partners, etc., was given custody of Sarah, and it seems like Sarah suffered terrible abuse ever since then. And one day, Irfan, well, allegedly, went too far, and Sarah died. Her little body just gave up the ghost, if you like. That's an expression that I think describes exactly what happened with Sarah. I think she just gave up. She just gave up. She just couldn't take any more. He would hit her with a cricket bat. He would tie her up. He put nappies on her, or somebody did. Somebody bit her. Somebody burnt her with an iron. She had injuries consistent with a traffic accident or a fall from a great height. And anyway, she died. And instead of phoning the ambulance immediately, and possibly she could have been resuscitated, apparently, allegedly, Irfan tried resuscitating herself. It didn't work. And him and Baynash and Faisal and the other children, another 4 children, one of which was Sarah's biological brother, from her biological mother, Olga, off they all went to Pakistan. And Irfan rang from Pakistan to tell the police that Sarah was dead in the house, in a bed. And the police went and found Sarah, and indeed she was there, deceased. They think that possibly her little body had been jet washed and put into clean clothes, taken out of the filthy nappy she would have been in when she died. That was found outside, the nappy, and a jet wash. And it's thought that this guy, Faisal, he did the jet washing. So he may not have participated in the abuse or the murder of Sarah. Irfan says he's heartbroken. He didn't mean to kill her. He was punishing her legally, whatever that means. You know, it's all a load of rubbish. They're all as guilty as each other. As this trial's gone on, I just think they're all as guilty as each other. They all knew. They all participated in some way. Baynash, the stepmother, she would not give a dental impression, whereas the two men, they did volunteer their dental impressions because Sarah had bites between her thighs. And that's thought then that's probably Baynash, because she refused to give a dental impression. And another thing I want to say is Baynash and Faisal, they are not, Irfan has given testimony. He has accepted, he's changed his tune so many times because he started off, when he phoned the police to say that Sarah's body was there, he said he'd done it, he'd killed her. On the phone, this is from Pakistan. But it was an accident. He didn't mean to do it, blah, 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 blah. Then when the trial started, he said, no, it wasn't him. It was Baynash who did it. And then the following week, he changed his tune again. And now he's accepting all responsibility and saying that, yes, he did do it. So that's where we are in this case. It's a horrible case, but we're going to follow it. We're going to follow it through to the end. YouTube doesn't like it. They don't like it when I do videos about Sarah. I'm trying to, maybe this time it's hidden in with other cases, they might sort of pass over it, but they normally pick it right up. They don't like it. But you know what? We're going to follow this case right through to the end. I want to see justice for Sarah. And to be honest, I want to see all those 3 people go down. But anyway, I don't know if that's going to happen, but certainly Irfan will. So the latest thing is, so again, just be prepared, because it's always very sad what we look at in this case, isn't it? It's always traumatic, isn't it? You know, it's always traumatic. There's no positivity really. The only bit of positivity, I mean, at least he did not try and dispose of her body. That's the only good thing that you can say. You know, he didn't try and dispose of her body and say she was still alive, or say she'd gone off to Pakistan or gone off with her mother. I mean, he could have done that. And, you know, I'm always searching for some positivity. At least he told the police what had happened. The police went and recovered Sarah's body. That's the only plus, you know, that you can see, because to be fair, he could have said she'd gone off to live with her. I mean, he wouldn't have got away with it forever, but, you know, these are things that he could have tried to do that sort of story. At least initially he did admit to it. So, I mean, he's going to be found guilty, but the question is, what's his sentence going to be, you know? So let's have a look at the latest news. As I say, very sad. And it's still continuing, of course, this trial. So an important thing is that Baynash, the stepmother, and Faisal, the uncle, they're not testifying, whereas Irfan has given quite a lot of testimony. They've decided they're not going to stand and testify. I think they're just sitting back and hoping he will hang himself, you know, not literally, because we don't have the death penalty anymore, but he will hang himself, and that they don't have to say anything, because if they stand up and start talking, it might even compromise their positions. So they've decided they're not testifying. So the latest thing that the jury have been told is this little girl begged her parents' forgiveness. It's just heartbreaking. This little girl who was being abused, they should have got down on their knees and begged her forgiveness. She wrote letters to them, begging them for forgiveness for being rude. So Sarah Sharif begged her parents for forgiveness for being rude in a letter discovered after her death, the court has heard. The 10-year-old's letters and notebook were seized by the police after her body was found with dozens of injuries at the family's home in Woking, Surrey last year. The court had previously heard that Sarah had been hooded, burned, beaten during more than 2 years of abuse. So Sarah's father, they're all in court, and they've all pled not guilty, you know, at the beginning of the trial. So Irfan is 42, the stepmother is 30, so she's a lot younger than Irfan. There's a lot of talk that she suffered from, when she was a child, suffered from honour abuse from her parents, and she had to go into care. And the Irfan sort of picked her because she was vulnerable, and you know, it's possible, but I still think she was nasty to Sarah anyway. And the uncle Faisal, he's 29. So Irfan's like the oldest one, just, you know, apart from being Sarah's biological father. He's the most guilty, if you like. But having said that, that doesn't mean to say that they're not guilty. So I think the other two have got to be guilty of causing or allowing her death. If they're not actually guilty of murder, but they're guilty of causing or allowing her death. And then this twunk Faisal, he supposedly, or the police allege, and I know who I believe, the police allege he jet washed her body. Oh, you know, just even the image that conjures up into your head of taking a dead child out into your garden, stripping her and then jet washing her. because her body was in such a state, because she was in soiled nappies, she was in her own waste, and he took her out into the garden and jet washed her like she was nothing. I mean, I think that is such an awful, harrowing thought, to imagine in your head. You just wish you didn't know that, really, because I can't stop thinking about that. So I'm thinking, what do you take out to jet wash? Your shoes, or if you get your shoes in a mess, if you go to the woods or whatever, and you get mud on them and you jet wash them, or your car, or what would a child's body? How could you do that? Anyway, in an updated and misspelled letter to Mr. Sharif and Miss Batul that was shown to jurors, Sarah wrote that she was sorry for being rude, and answering back, she said, "Please forgive me, I am so sorry." And in a birthday message to her father, Sarah wrote, "I love you so much. Thank you for looking after us on the weekends. Thank you." That is he's a father. Oh my God. Fancy thanking a father for doing what fathers should do. It's like just 10 years old. There will come a day when I think children get to be adults and they realise everything their parents have done for them. But, I think when children are young, generally they don't see what you do for them. I didn't really, and I think you only realise it later. And I think children, what I think? I think the worse children are treated, it feels like the nicer they are to their parents, because they're brainwashed into that. She's been brainwashed in thinking she's lucky to have a lovely dad like Irfan. You know what kids are like, especially then when they get older. I mean, she was only 10, but they don't appreciate what their parents do most of the time, I think. I didn't, and I've had experience of it the other way now. But it's you don't expect your children to thank you for doing your job. You have children for selfish reasons, really. You don't have children for them. You don't think, I'm going to give life to a child, and like you're doing them a favor. People have children because they want them. So you want the children, you have to look after them. That's your responsibility forever, like it or not. Once you have a child, you are beholden to that child for the rest of their life, because you brought them into the world. You brought them into the world. You decided to have them. They didn't ask you to have them. Do you see what I'm saying? So why should she be grateful to her father for looking after her at the weekend? That's what parents do. It's what parents do. You don't get a medal for it. It's just what you do. So please forgive me. I am so sorry. Our family is the best in town. We spread love all around the world. Oh my God. So as this guy is beating her with a cricket bat, making her wear a nappy, tying her up, putting hoods on her, beating her with a rod of some kind, while she's being bitten, while she's being had irons burnt by an iron, while all that is happening to her, she says, "Our family is the best in town. We spread love all around the world." Her notebook also contained a short fairy tale about a queen called Bainash and a princess called Sarah. It's so heartbreaking. Honestly, this poor little girl. Sarah also described Batul as the best caring and loving mother in the world in the notebook. Oh my God. Hi, Heather. I'll see if I've missed anyone else coming in. I don't think it is the religion, Yvonne. I think it's the same for all abused children from wherever they come from. In my experience of children that I've met, the worse their parents are, the more the kid thinks it's like a brainwashing. I agree with you, Heather. It is like Stockholm syndrome. If you bring, you know what they it's like, spare the rod, spoil the child. It's sort of true in a way, because the nicer you are to your kids, they don't, they do take you for granted then. But I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, that you should be like this, you shouldn't. But I've seen it. I've seen it with so many children. I've taught children for years. I've done summer schools for children, things. And the children with the worst parents are the most respectful to their parents. They're bloody terrified most of the time. That's why as well. That's another reason. They're terrified to be disrespectful. Like if a child is disrespectful to their parents, you can bet that probably those parents treat them quite nicely, because otherwise they won't feel comfortable enough to be openly disrespectful to them. Do you see what I'm saying? So anyway, that's what I think. But who knows? Poor Sarah. One thing we do know, she was, what's the word? Yeah, she was brainwashed, wasn't she? Into thinking these were fantastic parents. And also, of course, when you're that age, maybe she didn't realise. I mean, she hadn't had, I don't know about the full circumstances with her mother, Olga. But I don't think she'd had a brilliant, there was problems there as well. I'm not saying Olga abused her. I'm not saying that. But, this poor girl, she never had a good childhood, because just the fact that she was taken off Olga, the mother, and given to this twonk shows that really there must have been some problems there with Olga, because courts don't normally give custody to a father over a mother, do they? Especially a father who already had problems. So what was the reason for that? I've read that he was given custody of Sarah because he was in a family unit, because he was with Baynash, because they had the other children, and of course, so that was more of a family unit for Sarah. Olga was probably a single mum. You know what people are like about single mums, as if this, they're like bloody, people are always got a downer on single mums. Most single mums I know, they're brilliant mothers, and they work twice as hard, to bring their children up the right way. I don't know if Olga was like that. Maybe she was a bad single mother. I don't know. But, that was a reason, I think, that these people got custody, is because it was a family environment rather than a single parent environment. But you know what? Better just one parent than two twonk parents. Let's go back to what was reading. Yes, she described Miss Batul as the best caring and loving mother in the world. Even though she bit her and burnt her with an iron. Now, this is a bit worrying to me, because at the Old Bailey, Mr. Justice Kavanagh told the jury they may consider an alternative charge of manslaughter. He said that while murder and causing or allowing the death of a child were the charges on the indictment, manslaughter could also be considered if the jury was not certain that murder had been proved. For a conviction on charge of manslaughter, the jury must be sure that the defendants intended to cause some physical harm. I mean, they definitely intended to cause physical harm. I do think it's going to be difficult to say murder, because murder, of course, although we look at it and we think, of course it's murder, but, there needs to be some premeditation, etc. I suppose there was premeditation. But I don't think Irfan did intend to kill. I don't even know what was going through Irfan's head. I think he seemed to sort of love her. It's a really weird thing. Well, you know what, I think Olga is the key to all this. This previous relationship he had with Olga, and Sarah was a product of that relationship. I think there's hate and jealousy there from both him and Baynash. And I think that's why Sarah was treated so much more badly than the other children. Now, the thing is, we don't really know how the other children were treated because they've been whisked away to Pakistan. So they can't be examined. They can't be questioned. They're not here. I think that was the reason he took those other children to Pakistan. I bet all those children have been abused. Maybe Sarah to a higher extent. But I think they've probably all been abused. And in fact, there has been some talk about Irfan getting into trouble for this sort of thing before, for burning a child. But no details. I couldn't find any details of which child it was. But yeah, he's definitely, I doubt very much that the other children got away with it. So yeah, she suffered injuries including probable human bite marks, an iron burn, scalding from hot water, there was a blood-stained cricket bat, a rolling pin with her DNA on it, a metal pole, a belt and a rope. So the trial continues. So it's probably continuing today. But that's where we are with Sarah. So yeah. Oh God, I was covering up my face there with that. Didn't mean to do that. Yeah, so awful. But anyway, I think it must be winding down now, that trial. Hopefully we'll have a verdict soon. I'd like to see a verdict of murder, but with the judge saying that, I don't know if we will now. I mean, we don't know, because although we can see, we've got to hear about what evidence had been presented, etc. It's the jury that has actually seen everything and heard all the full details. So they may come up with a murder verdict, might they? So let's hope so. I'd like to see all three of those go away. Anyway, so we're going to move on now to the next thing I want to talk to you about, which of course is Liam Payne's funeral. And this, I think it didn't register with me so at first, but as time goes on, the tragedy of this situation just becomes more and more, doesn't it? I mean, Liam, he was only 30. He had the world at his feet. You talk about a guy with the world at his feet, successful, rich, he had a son, Bear, didn't he? But he couldn't shake off his demons, his insecurity, his drug addiction that he'd fought and he'd conquered a couple of times, but then just fell back into it. So it seems like from that last day in his life, he was taking drugs, so he's definitely well off the wagon. He didn't look happy in the videos that he made, etc., leading up to his death. And of course, there's a lot of controversy. Why was he left on his own there in the room? He locked the door. He fell off the balcony. Or did he jump off the balcony? And then some people think he was pushed off the balcony. There's so many different theories. And then was he alive when he fell? Was he dead when he fell already? Or was he unconscious when he fell? So many different, it's possible, isn't it, that he may have just become unconscious and fell as he was out on the balcony. Why was he even out on the balcony? There are previous pictures of him on a balcony like that, doing something like that. It's a bit like the Michael Jackson thing, holding the kids off the balcony and that. People do crazy things, don't they? So we don't know. And there's, of course, still inquiries going on, both in Argentina, and then there'll probably be an inquest in the UK as well. As with Jay Slater, though, we don't know when that inquest will be yet. So really all I'm presenting to you today is, as I say, I don't know what happened to Liam. I don't like the conspiracy theories. I think they must be awful for the family to hear all that shite being talked on TikTok and the internet and everything. A lot of YouTubers, a lot of TikTokers jumping on top of this and talking shite. makes me so angry. Honestly, how I don't actually say anything to them, I don't know. But sometimes you just have to restrain yourself, because at the end of the day, nobody knows yet. We've got to wait and see. And it can only be, I'm sure the family want to know more than anyone what actually happened. They're not going to let it go if they think there's something suspicious, are they? So I just think it must be distressing to everyone to hear all the rubbish that people are coming out with. So let's have a look at a video of the funeral. So that's really, I just want to show you the funeral. It's very, very sad. Really, really, really just so sad, and also not understandable, because how does someone who seems to have the world at his feet, be so unhappy? Very sad.
Mourners gathered Wednesday at the funeral of former One Direction singer Liam Payne. Among those in attendance were Payne's former bandmates Harry Styles, Zayn Malik, Niall Horan, and Louis Tomlinson. The singer's coffin arrived at a church northwest of London in a white carriage drawn by 2 horses and adorned with floral tributes. Last month, Payne died at the age of 31 after falling from his hotel balcony in Buenos Aires. He and his former bandmates were catapulted to global fame in the 2010s, with One Direction going on to become one of the best-selling boy bands of all time.
And it's funny, isn't it? Because at the time when One Direction were becoming famous and that, if I don't know a lot about them, but I did watch the X Factor that they won, and I always thought of Liam as the sensible one. I'm talking about someone looking from a distance, only seeing him on the news here and there, and, not following One Direction I don't follow celebrity stuff. I was surprised to hear that he was going out with Cheryl Cole and that, because of the age difference and everything. And then I never really understood why they split up, or because I never really took that much interest in it. But if I were, if somebody was say to me, which out of the One Direction guys do you think is the most sensible, I would have said him. So it was a real surprise. I didn't realize he was going through all those problems, and I've sort of loosely, obviously Harry Styles is quite high profile. Bless me. All of them, they've gone off and had their solo careers as well, haven't they? And Zayn Malik, I love his voice. I absolutely love Zayn's voice. I think he's got the most fantastic voice. So I'm sort of one of those people that's on the periphery of what goes on with One Direction and most celebrity culture things, to be honest. They're not things that really take an interest in. So it's a real surprise. I don't know why. He always came over as being very sensible. I didn't realise he had all these issues. I just turned the music down because they normally pick up on copyright for music. Now, funerals, of course, are always sad, aren't they? Sometimes, I have been to funerals that, I know it sounds ridiculous, but, depending on the love that's there for people, sometimes funerals they're supposed to be uplifting, because really, if you look back in history, a funeral is the send-off, isn't it? Someone to a better place. But it's just so tragic, isn't it, for everyone who's left behind? And especially tragic, the thing is, of course, they're very tragic when it's someone as young as this. Because John Prescott, of course, died today or yesterday, didn't he? Well, he was 86 years old. And, having said that, in this day and age, 86, he could still have gone on another 10 years, couldn't he? But still, he's had a life well lived. He's had a good, long life. He's done lots of things. He's had children, probably grandchildren. He's had this life experience. So when John Prescott's funeral comes, it will be a celebration of his life in every way, shape, or form, because he's had a long life. It's different with someone like Liam because he was so young and so much more to give. It's so difficult to go to a funeral for a young person. And of course, children's funerals are the worst. But, my best friend died when she was 19. I remember going to her funeral. There's a sense of, at any funeral, I think you get this sense of surrealism, don't you? Because you can't believe your loved one, no matter how old they are, has gone, because they've been in your life. Maybe sometimes, perhaps, because they've been in your life for so many years. I mean, you can't imagine your life without them. You can't imagine what you're going to do now. Who you're going to phone, who you're going to talk to when you need help, etc. If it's your mum or your dad, even if or your grandma or your granddad. But for a 30-year-old man, a father, with a young child, it's especially sad, isn't it? So especially sad. And all those people there afterwards, I expect they were celebrating his life. Do you know what it's like in a funeral, isn't it? You start off all sad, you're crying at the funeral, and then you go to the wake, and you all start talking then about memories, about that person, and you end up laughing. Or that's how we do it in Manchester anyway. The wake is a big thing. The wake is a thing of talking about, oh, do you remember when he did this, and do you remember when they did that? But that's with older people, I think. With young people, it's very difficult, isn't it? It's very difficult to find a celebration of their life because they haven't had enough life. He hasn't, 30 years, it's nothing, is it? So very sad. And my heart breaks for his family, for his mum and dad. Like, you don't expect to outlive your children, do you? Gosh. That's his dad, isn't it? This is Liam's dad here, isn't it? He's comforting somebody. Dear me. Oh, he was comforting Simon. That was Simon Cowell, wasn't it? That's Simon Cowell. I'm still not sure about Simon Cowell. I'm sorry. But anyway, his dad is comforting him there. Let's have a look. Yeah, that is Simon Cowell that he's comforting. So is that Simon's wife over there? Yeah. What was I going to say? Yeah, I'm not sure about Simon Cowell. Not sure. There's Harry with his minders. There's he. That's Lewis, isn't it? Zane. Is that Cheryl? Yeah. Yeah, so very sad. That's his funeral now. I suppose we'll see now what comes out of the investigation, etc. We'll see. Okay, so now we're going to look at this third thing that we're going to talk about. Yes. So these are, I say, I don't know a lot about this case yet. I've only just sort of really picked up on it. So this is these poisonings in Laos. Let's have a look. Let me put some windows down so that I can concentrate on that. Hi, Fastnet. Well, we're going to stay on theme. I won't be talking about that during this video, but thanks for your input. So let's have a look what's happened here. So this was this first story we're going to look at was right at the start when this story was breaking. So the first article we're going to look at, the story was just breaking. Let me just take that. I have to take that down, or you won't be able to see. Oh. Yeah, so the very first, one of the very first news articles that came out was that alcohol poisoning in Laos leaves 2 tourists hospitalised. So this is the Nana Backpackers Hostel in Vang Vieng in Laos. Now, my geography is absolutely rubbish. Let's get it up on Google Maps. I don't even know where Laos is. All right, so it's in Thailand. You know, I wouldn't have even known that, but let's have a look. I'll just show you. So it's here in Thailand. So I presume it's a common place that backpackers go, etc. You know, people like there's a lot young people do a lot of traveling these days, don't they? And presumably this is a place that they go to. So that's where we're looking at. We're in Thailand, in Laos. Are we in Thailand, or is Laos a separate country? No, it's part of Thailand. Okay. Okay, so these are common places people go to now, aren't they, to travel? Vietnam, even Cambodia, etc. Places that years ago were like, you know, you wouldn't have dreamed of going to, but now people do. They go doing their backpacking. Even older people go. They call it granny packing, or granddad packing, I suppose. You know, lots of people go traveling so much more now, don't they, than they used to. Let's go back. Oh, what happened there? Can you hear me okay? There you go. I think it's back now. It might have cut off for a minute, but it should be back now. So the first thing we heard was 2 Australian tourists were so this was on November the 20th. 2 Australian tourists are being treated in Thailand for suspected severe alcohol poisoning after consuming tainted drinks in neighbouring Laos. Australian media reported Tuesday. The 2 19-year-old women were on a backpacking vacation in Laos when they became ill in the tourist town of Vang Vieng. The Age newspaper in the women's hometown of Melbourne reported. Duong Duk Tone, manager of the Nana Backpacker Hostel, said Tuesday that staff were told by other guests the 2 women were unwell after they failed to check out as planned on November the 13th, and they arranged transport to a hospital for them. So this is the manager. This is the guy, Duong Tuk Toan. He's the manager of the hostel. He says it's nothing to do with his hostel. He says that they went off afterwards to other places, and he's saying it's nothing to do with him. So he said that 2 days earlier, the women had joined more than 100 other guests for free shots of Lao vodka offered by the hostel as a gesture of hospitality. He said no other guest reported an issue, adding that the women had then gone for a night out, returning in the early hours of the morning. And Australia's Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade confirmed it was providing consular assistance to the two Australians and their families, but it couldn't provide further information for privacy reasons. Our thoughts are with them at this deeply distressing time, the office said. They were then transported to Thailand and are being treated at hospitals in Bangkok and Udon Thani. Their parents have flown in to be with them. It isn't clear what they drank, but methanol is sometimes used as the alcohol in mixed drinks at disreputable bars. So I think the lesson here is don't drink anything you don't know what it is. So methanol, I mean, methanol is a poison, isn't it? What is methanol? Let's have a look. So what is methanol? How does it end up in alcoholic drinks and how can you avoid it? 4 people have died. So 4 people now have died. 6 British backpackers are in hospital after reports of suspected methanol poisoning. Simone White, 28, from Orpington in Kent, is amongst those who fell ill after being offered free shots. Bianca Jones, 19. 2 Danish women in their 20s and a 56-year-old US national are reported to have died. New Zealand has confirmed one of its citizens have also fallen ill. Why are they all women? So we've got Simone White, we've got the other 2 girls, we've got Bianca Jones, 2 Danish women in their 20s. Now, we don't know, the 56-year-old US national, we don't know if it's a man or a woman. New Zealand has confirmed one of its citizens has also fallen ill, and authorities are now warning the travellers about the risks of methanol poisoning, how it happens and how to avoid it. So what is it? It's very similar to ethanol, the pure form of alcohol in alcoholic drinks. It's odourless, tasteless and highly flammable, and it has a different chemical structure that makes it toxic for humans. So why are people being given this in drinks? Is it just to save money? I mean, this is ridiculous, isn't it? Crazy. Is it a different country? Right, okay. Enjoy your lunch, Yvonne. Enjoy your lunch. Hi, David. Yeah, Yvonne, don't have any shots, okay? Or if you do, make sure they haven't got methanol in them. But enjoy your lunch, whatever. So, yeah, it's very, very... why would it end up in people's drinks? So it's known as wood alcohol, often used to make solvents, pesticides, paint thinners and alternative fuels. Come on, why is it being put in drinks? What makes it so dangerous is the way our bodies metabolize it. Once consumed, our enzymes metabolize methanol into formaldehyde. Oh my God, the substance used to make industrial glue and embalming substances before breaking it down into formic acid. Do you know what? I think I'll just stick to my Smirnoff vodka or Gordon's gin or whatever. I think I'll just stick to proper drinks. I don't think I'll be going to Thailand. Now, what I'm thinking now, is it because of this case coming up? Will we now find out about lots of other cases? Have there been cases going on for ages? Maybe it isn't particularly this hotel. It's something that happens all the time, but it's just not been big news enough because we only hear about it when the mainstream media picks up on it. Things can be happening, can't they? And we don't get to know about it. Once a connection has been made, that lots of different nationalities have suffered with this, not only on this occasion, but on other occasions. Is that why we're getting to hear about it now? Are we going to hear about lots of different cases? And maybe they're all women, because women maybe don't process it so well. You know, women tend to be smaller generally, don't they, than men? And men can normally take their alcohol a little bit better. You know, I don't know, but the formic acid upsets the acid balance in the blood, and the major consequence is initially the effect on someone's breathing. There are effects on many other organs, the kidney being one, says Professor Alistair Hay is how you pronounce it in Spanish, Emeritus Professor of Environmental Technology at the University of Leeds. Formaldehyde attacks nerves, particularly the optic nerve, and blindness is a potential risk. He adds, how does it end up in alcoholic drinks? Now, I bet one good thing that might come out of this is people's awareness. How many people would know this? That in Southeast Asia and other popular tourist destinations, methanol can be found in alcoholic drinks for two main reasons. Firstly, it's cheaper than ethanol, so it's sometimes added instead to save costs before the counterfeit alcohol is bottled and sold in shops and bars. Now, when you think about it, it's amazing. When you go in bars and things, and not now, I'm aware of everything now. I wouldn't do it now. But, you know, when I was young, yeah, you would just drink anything anyone put in front of you, wouldn't you? They give you a cocktail. They gave you I remember drinking pochine in one bar I went to many years ago when I was in my 30s. Oh, my God. It was actually pure, like pochine. It had been, which is an Irish sort of, isn't it, an Irish liqueur made from potatoes, and it's like real bootleg liquor. And I remember drinking that and not remembering how I got home, but I got home, you know. But anyway, I didn't really remember how I got home. I was lucky again. I've been, you know, just like, oh, try this pochine. Oh yeah, let's try. Oh, shot of pochine. Next thing you know, you're waking up the next morning thinking, how did that happen? So what I'm saying is, what young people, they don't think about what's in the glass they're drinking. Somebody gives it them, they just drink it. So you've got to be careful. I mean, I don't know if young people will be careful, but you know, I don't know if they ever get that message, but let's hope so. Hopefully, if this does spread over mainstream media, social media, it will be a lesson. It will be an advice. So it can occur by accident when the alcohol is homemade, which is common across Southeast Asia. When it is distilled and fermented without the appropriate monitoring, it can sometimes produce methanol in toxic quantities. And because it's impossible to tell the difference without specialist equipment, homemade drinks are often offered to tourists without anyone knowing how dangerous they are. So and it's very toxic. So as little as 25 milliliters can prove fatal. Why is this even happening? You know, you think the bars wouldn't want to take that chance, to be honest. You know, why are the bar owners take the chance on actually people dying just to save a bit of money? So the most common symptoms are vomiting and nausea, changes in vision, including blurring, loss of sight, and difficulty looking at bright lights, abdominal and muscle pain, dizziness and confusion, drowsiness and fatigue. Now, the thing about all those symptoms is somebody could quite easily just think, oh, they've had too much to drink. You know, they're symptoms of being drunk as well, aren't they? Vomiting, nausea, etc. Maybe not the pain, abdominal and muscle pain. Oh my God. So methanol poisoning symptoms are similar to those from alcohol poisoning, but often more severe. If drinks were left unattended or your symptoms appear disproportionate to the amount you drink, it could be methanol poisoning. And how is it treated? They have to remove it from the blood via dialysis. That's like kidney dialysis, isn't it? While keeping someone mildly drunk by giving the methanol at the same time. God. The principle behind administering ethanol is quite simple. It delays methanol metabolism. Both alcohols are broken down by the same liver enzyme, alcohol dehydrogenase, but the enzyme prefers ethanol. So ethanol acts as a competitive inhibitor, largely preventing methanol breakdown, but markedly slowing it down. Most commonly affected drinks are local spirits, such as rice and palm liqueur, often labeled special or happy drinks. Spirit-based mixed drinks, such as cocktails, counterfeit, brand name bottled alcohol. So, to minimise risk, only buy alcohol from licensed bars, hotels, or shops. Check labels for signs that bottles may be counterfeit. Avoid homemade alcohol. Check bottles are properly sealed before drinking from them, and avoid free drinks you have not seen poured yourself, and do not leave drinks or food unattended. That's good advice, to be honest. That's good advice wherever you are, because there's such a big thing about spiking drinks now. It'd be a good idea to follow that advice, wouldn't it? Whatever. Now, I just want to look at some of the photos. So here are the photos. So it's Bianca Jones, is the Australian, the Melbourne teenager that's died. And I'm going to do an individual video about it as well, because today I'm just giving you some news stories. I will be chopping up this video dividing it into 3, but I will at some point do a more in-depth video about Bianca, and also about the British girl who's died, or all of them that have died, when I do the proper research and find out more about them. I know poor parents. So the parents have had to go, it's not like, just going to the hospital in Melbourne, when your child falls ill or whatever, or dies. You've got to go all the way to Laos. Awful, isn't it? Let's just have a look at this article, actually, in the... Oh no, I can't get on it. Hang on, let's read one. Let's see if we can find an article about Bianca, just to finish off. Yeah, Melbourne teen Bianca Jones dies in hospital after methanol poisoning in Laos. A New Zealand citizen is ill. A US citizen has died from a suspected mass poisoning event in the town of Vang Vieng. Well, do you know what? It could be deliberate, and it could be deliberate against women, and it could be deliberate against foreign tourists. Obviously we don't know yet, because there's so much to find out. There's a Princess Tia. She's wanting attention. Get off. Ow, get off. She sat on the chair next to me, whacking me with her paw. I know. Let's have a look at this video. Yeah, so the other girl is still in hospital fighting for her life. I don't know, I've got a feeling this might be a targeting of female tourists because it's surprising that they're all women and it's like a mass, you know, unless it is something that's happened a lot, but it's just only getting publicity now. But she actually sounds quite emotional, this woman. I mean, genuinely, you know, because obviously, if you're in the government or whatever, and you have, you know, you have things to say, and but she seems to be, is she the representative for that area? So it's near you musical. So yeah, I think this is going to turn out to be a really big story. I've got a feeling about it. There's something more suspicious here, or that's how it feels, but I could be wrong, but we'll see. Oh, she's upset. Oh, so yeah. So anyway, I need to look into that more deeply. I've got to go in a minute, so I can't stay on much longer. Otherwise, I'd look into it now with you guys. Was there no sound? Was there no sound? All right, let me put it on again then. No, there should have been sound. This happened the other day. Let's try it again. Why is there no sound? Oh, hang on.
We also take this moment has lost her life. Our first thoughts in this moment are with her family and friends who are grieving a terrible and cruel loss. This is every parent's very worst fear and a nightmare that no one should have to endure. We also take this moment to say we're thinking of Bianca's friend, Holly Bowles, who is fighting for her life there in Laos. Australians hold her and her family in our hearts as we pray for her.
Bianca and Holly went on a holiday to Southeast Asia, a rite of passage that many young Australians experience. And if you were to look at their holiday photos, you would see the wonderful adventure that these best friends were having together. They could be any of our teenage kids embarking on life from the suburbs, wonderful suburbs of Bayside, Melbourne, where they've both grown up, gone to school at Mentone Girls and at Beaumaris Sec, worked in casual jobs, and then, of course, played AFLW together at the famous Bowie Sharks. Bianca's parents, Michelle and Mark, and her brother Lachlan, have been by her side during this ordeal for the last few days. And today, of course, there's suffering pain beyond measure. pain that no parent or sibling should ever experience. To the families of these two young Aussie girls who just headed off on an adventure together, I know that so many members of our community are connected to these girls, to these families. I feel your grief. Our hearts are broken. Thank you, Speaker.
And on behalf of the Coalition, we extend our heartfelt condolences to the family and the friends of this beautiful young girl. The story has been shocking from the moment it was reported. Up to 10 young people who had been the subject of this terrible incident, some who have lost their lives. Our thoughts and prayers are with those who are still on life support, and we hope that there can be some comfort to the family knowing that every Australian's heart is breaking at the moment for this tragic loss.
Okay, so musical, you could hear it then, but I think, yeah, listen, I don't understand anything about technology. Why sometimes you can hear people say they can hear, then they can't hear. Sometimes people can get in the chat, they can't get in the chat. Then they think, you know, it's just a mystery. It's a mystery. It's a mystery. Okay, so that was Toya. It's a mystery. Right, well, what am I thinking now? So I'll be back, I think, tonight. I can't see any reason why not. I don't know what I'll be talking about yet. I still want to show I want to do more about Delphi. I need to do the video about, you know, I did a video about why Richard Allen was guilty. I want to do a video for those just like to put over the other side, because people like to put the other side. Like me to put over the other side. I always like to be fair and give different, as long as there's not, the only thing I won't entertain with the Delphi case at all is any suggestion that Kelsey or anyone to do with the family might have been involved. I just won't entertain that. So when I do a video about that, I won't be, you know, that'll just, anyone who says anything about any of the family of Libby or Abby will just be deleted. But, you know, if people think there's alternative people, you know, we'll talk about it. I don't believe it. I believe Richard Allen was guilty, but, you know, I know people like to give their side. I'm going to go through these Stefan Stearns photos, and what I've decided, you know, all these photos that I've got, I'm going to, like I released the video about the storage thing, I can release sort of short batches of the photos, and I'm even going to show you, but censored, heavily censored, the photos of Stefan Stearns when he was stripped and photoed, but obviously I'm going to blur certain parts out. And I won't inflict that on you, but anyway, I wouldn't do that. Probably YouTube wouldn't like it if I did that, but I wouldn't do it to you. But I can blur them. I can blur them out. And then actually, if I get them blurred out, then I can look at them again without having to see the whole thing. You know, it's like, yeah, so I'm going to do that. I've got lots of things I want to do, so many things to do. Not enough time. As always, I've got some classes later, but I will be back tonight. So I'll see you soon in the next video. Please remember to, the one thing I sort of demand from you, if you like, is to like, please. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. And of course, you might be replay crew, you might be watching at home, you know, not joining in the chat, but obviously special thanks to you chatters. And I'll see you really soon in the next video. And let's see what transpires in this case. Is it going to turn out to be some big, it's almost like a mass murder, isn't it, really? If it is connected, maybe it's not connected, maybe they're isolated incidents, but please, any of you who do go on holiday to these kind of places or anywhere, you know, this can happen anywhere. Just be careful what you're drinking. And I know it's difficult because you get caught up in the moment. It's like, oh yeah, have a shot, have a cocktail, but you do have to think about it. don't you? Okay, see you really soon in the next video. And until then, may your God go with you. Bye.